So it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I watched your movie and scared the crap out of me, to be completely
Yay!
honest.
That's always great to hear.
So can you tell me just in your own words a little bit about what the movie's about?
Well, first off, it's set in the 70s, but also kind of made in the style of the films of the 70s. It's about this group of siblings that have recently lost their parents and inherited this old house that they didn't necessarily know that existed. They discover an old piece of jewelry in the attic, and they encounter an antique dealer who is disturbed by this piece of jewelry. And the older brother starts wearing it unknowingly, and of course that starts perhaps changing his own psyche. And of course, spooky goings on occur throughout the house to the other siblings, and they have to bring in a parapsychologist and all of that kind of fun stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, where did the story come from?
Uh, it's one of those things where it had multiple points of, where we kind of got the idea for it. We came up with the idea of siblings finding a box with some kind of spirit inside of it back, oh, it's probably 11 or 12 years ago. We
wow.
we just kind of, it's one of those things we came up with and put it down, but we just didn't pursue that idea at the time. And then around 2015, I just kind of got the idea of writing the script, not even necessarily to film, just because I thought, hey, I've got this idea laying around. Why don't I, put it down just for fun, just as a creative outlet? Then a few years later, we decided, well, hey, we'll actually go ahead with it and try to make this movie.
That's awesome. So it's many, many years into the making.
Many, many years, yes.
Um, were there any films in particular that you used either or for inspiration, either in the writing or in the filming process?
Well, I definitely look just at the 70s in general, especially the horror films and supernatural films, because I wanted it to have that nostalgia to it and have somewhat of a familiar feel to it while still being its own thing. So I definitely looked at the films from that time period, and just even now, just seeing what was popular. And since supernatural and haunting films are still pretty popular right now, I thought this would be a kind of a great time to go about it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And in addition to writing and directing this, you also starred in it.
Yeah.
Um, why did you tackle all three roles, and was that the plan from the get-go?
So the plan from the get-go was, of course, I just wrote it kind of for fun. But then when we decided to do it, I knew I wanted to direct it. But 2020 happened, and we had been in the planning phase for it. And of course, that caused its own issues and questions of whether or not we would be able to do it. But as we moved ahead, we decided, well, we need to try to limit as many people as we can on set. So I thought just the best way to do that really would be for me to play that role that's in it quite a bit, and would allow me to just eliminate one extra person on set. And of course, I wasn't too upset about playing the role, because I thought it would be a fun role to tackle. But it presented its own challenges to do kind of all three roles. Well, on set, really just the two of director and acting. But I had a great team that really backed me up and kind of helped me achieve the vision while I had all of these different jobs working.
That's awesome. Can you describe some of those challenges?
Well, one of the more difficult things is it's easy to sit there and watch your other actors move through the scene and watch how the camera work goes and just all of that. But then once you place yourself into that, you not only have to keep an eye on your other actors, but then you're trying to keep in your own eye, how does this look on camera? How does this come across? And I guess for the actors too, perhaps it could create kind of an interesting relationship, because not only am I directing them, I'm also in the scene with them. Uh, I guess trying to give direction almost to myself. uh, so that's probably the biggest challenge, and of course just trying to plan the next day shoots and all of that while learning my lines and trying to get into the mindset of the character all at once, and trying to make sure that nothing falters on either side, because I'm trying to split two jobs.
That's a lot to do
Oh,
all at
it's a
once.
lot, yeah.
Um, did you take your own direction well?
So, well, I try not to be too hard on myself, but
That's good. That's good. Um, how did you find your actors, and what was it like working with them?
So we met with some people in our area that help cast either for uh, musicals or other independent films, that put us in contact with several of the actors, especially for child actors, like the lead Ethan, played by Jackson Lee Turner. Uh, that was one of the things we wanted to make sure we could find a child actor that could really kind of hold his own against the more mature actors. But some of the others, I had actually ended up, several of them I had worked with on some other projects. Elena, I knew as Elena Ontiveros, who's the lead. I had worked with on some other projects, and we kind of knew each other, and so she sent in a reel, and we reached out and we did all of our casting on FaceTime and things like that, because again, it was COVID time.
Yeah. And it's my understanding that this entire film was filmed in northern Alabama. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Uh,
And our actors are local to it. We tried as much as we could to tap into the talent that is in our area. We feel it's a very fast growing area, especially Huntsville, which is where the movie is set. And we know there's a lot of talent out there, and we really wanted to represent our area. So everyone from the actors, even down to our composer who wrote our original score, David Best, he is from this area, although he's worked in Nashville with country music stars, and he's toured and everything else. But he's local to our area, and we thought everyone did a great job, really, and we wanted to kind of salute the talent in our area.
I love that. I love it. Do you plan to do more projects in Alabama, or like bring other filmmakers in?
Nothing's out of the question, really. We would actually, I guess, love to do a sequel, even if perhaps if people like it enough and it does well enough and it's something that people want to see. We have ideas floating around, and we would love to, of course, bring in more people and future projects. Of course, we think it would be great to collaborate with more people from outside the area.
That would be awesome. What is it about the region that you love, but also that made it perfect for filming this movie?
Well, for me, it's my home. It's where I was raised, and there really is such a richness, I think, to the culture. And I think especially for a horror movie, there's just some extra little something about setting it in the South that gives it just that extra little, even though we're not necessarily in Louisiana on the bayou, it still gives it somewhat of that feel, I guess, kind of the Southern Gothic or something. But I felt like that there's not just that much really set in the area down here. So it's something, again, I wanted to tap into and use to my benefit, since we are in this area. And obviously, we all have a little bit of a twang in our talk, so there's no way to hide that. So we embraced it.
Nice. What is something that you're just super excited for people to see when they watch this movie?
Oh man. There's so many things. There's several, different scenes that we put a lot of work into and we're very proud of. For one, I want to say just the 70s setting, we went to great lengths to try to create that 70s look and style, down to the costumes. A good majority of those costumes were true pieces from the 1970s. And we found the old Sears wish books and things like that from 1977 and looked through that and tried to piece together our style to look like that year, not just 70s in general, but 1977. So that's definitely one of the things. And then one of my, I guess, favorite scenes would be there is a whole kind of water sequence, without giving too much spoiler away, but that was one of our more complicated sequences that we filmed on multiple locations and had some stunts and then some special effects that we did all practically, which we did throughout the whole movie, is again trying to tap into that 1970s feel. We wanted to do everything practically, so we didn't want to show anything that you wouldn't necessarily see in a movie that would have come out back then. So no, CGI or anything like that. So we had to find neat tricks and ways to kind of fool the viewer into thinking something that was happening on set was actually happening.
That's awesome. If people want to stay up to date with you, your work, and a potential sequel, where can we follow you?
Well, Dark Entities has its own Facebook, Twitter, Instagram pages. So if you want to keep up to date just with some general Dark Entities stuff, you can keep up with that. And then for me, I would say I also have a page for my production company, Mirror Image Productions, and that's where we will post anything about any future upcoming projects outside of, with Dark Entities and outside of Dark Entities. So that would probably be the best ways to really follow me. I don't really have a, I guess, public persona page for myself. It's probably something I should do, but for now, at least, that's probably the best ways to keep up with both Dark Entities and just kind of me in general.
Perfect. All right. Before I let you go, is there anything else that you want to add about Dark Entities?
Oh, wow. I mean, I feel like there's so much I could say. It was with so many years of work put into it. But, at the end of the day, I think we made the movie to have fun, or for the audience to have fun. And I mean, of course, it's a horror film and you come to get scared. And we wanted to have a story-driven horror film, but still, at the end of the day, we want you to have fun while watching it and have fun while getting scared, or looking at the costumes, or whatever it is that draws you to the film.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for chatting. Again, love the movie. I do hope for a sequel, even though the first one scared me. So
well, thank you so much. And again, that really means a lot to hear you say that it scared you, because again, I know horror is one of the most subjective movie genres out there. So it's great to hear from someone who's seen it that they loved it and thought it was terrifying.
I would not lie about that. So it was nice meeting you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.